Well, hey, friends. We have a very special guest on the podcast today. It is leadership coach and author Teemaree, coming from her tiny home in California. Teemaree, welcome to the Relevate Podcast.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I really appreciate being here with you today.
Oh my God. Well, so that view over your shoulder is simply magnificent. First of all, tell us where you're coming from.
So I'm coming from my home in Joshua Tree, California, and my husband and I live on a half acre in our tiny home. We wanted to join the movement, and so roughly 3.5 years ago, we finally made the decision after 2 years of getting prepared. So I'm coming to you live from Joshua Tree, California, here in our tiny home. It's less than 250 square feet. But on a half acre.
That is unbelievable.
And that view out there we enjoy quite often. We have a little fire pit and stuff, and we get to enjoy the animals and the sun and the clouds and the stars at night. Oh my goodness. So
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And you and your husband both work from home, right? So you have to negotiate that space carefully.
Well, it's so funny because we have been making some modifications to our place since we've gotten it. And so one of the things we did once the pandemic started is we had always worked from home. Before that, I would go into Los Angeles and also do on location work. So my husband would kind of have lay of the land here. And then when both of us were, as everyone else on the planet, were just kind of at home. Yeah. We ended up making a modification in our place, and we created a little office for him out of what was once a bunkhouse for additional kind of guests. So we do negotiate the space. We don't necessarily have closed off spaces, but he does have his nook, which is really great, because then he can spread out and do the things he needs, and I can kind of bounce around too.
Yeah. Well, I love that so much. So how do you describe yourself, Teemaree?
Oh my gosh. In what sense? I think all of us, right? That's the toughest question. How do we describe ourselves? For me, I'm a wife. I'm a friend. I'm a mother. I'm a coach. I'm a teacher. I'm a yogi. I'm a minister. I'm an author. And I'm just dedicated to overcoming and transformation. So really, I'm an artist as well. And basically, my whole goal in life is to use every gift I've ever been given by God to bless others and empower others so that they can overcome and transform. So when you say, who are you? How do you describe yourself? I'm dedicated to overcoming and transformation, not just myself on each new level, but helping my clients and my customers do the same as quickly as possible, because I know that when we have a lot on our plate, it seems like, how are we going to get this done? How are we going to achieve this new thing?
Sure.
So I'm the person to help in that way, and to use the things that I've learned and cultivated to make it as enjoyable and as quick an experience as possible.
Well, I love how you described yourself, and in doing that, you named all sorts of things, and in that description, you talked about how God makes us each unique for a reason. And I was just reading a book where the author was talking about, he shared a story when he was in middle school, and he wore like a pink shirt or something, and he was just teased mercilessly. And his thing was, when you're at that age, it's all about conformity. You want to blend in. You don't want to stand out. And I think a lot of us fall into that trap of conformity. And I just love the fact that you are living life full on, fully using your gifts that God gave you, being uniquely you, from your fantastic hair to your tiny home. I mean, you're such a breath of fresh air.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And You hit it on the head. You hit it on the head because, listen, as kids, we all go through this, right? If we're different, it's bad. We get teased, mocked, bullied, or maybe none of that happens. But inside of us, we are questioning, why am I not like her or him? Why can't I do that? Why doesn't the teacher talk about me too? It goes on and on and on. But you know something? It never stops unless we stop it. So many of us as adults, we still go through this. And to be quite honest with you, if I could just lay it all out,
Yeah.
I've I've cultivated myself. Every single choice I've had to butt up with
Mhm.
what's going to happen on the other end of this. And I think, like any other muscle, it gets exercised and it gets
Yeah.
better and easier, and we get freer and more empowered by being
Mhm.
ourselves. But it's still there. I mean, and don't even get me started when we actually start talking to others about that new thing we want to do. And maybe they have never seen us in that light.
And they're like, what?
You, and then
And
it's just worse.
interesting. Yeah, when people say interesting, that's never good. It's never good. It's like interesting. It
You're
means
like
like,
half grateful that they're not saying something bad, but you also know what they're saying.
yeah.
you know? So yeah,
Well, I
we
love
all
that you
have to
tee
do
that
that.
up and you are a big advocate of change. Talk to
Oh
us a
yeah.
little bit more about that because so many of us are just heels dug in, so fearful of change. Help us understand a little bit more about the power of embracing change.
Okay, so the power of embracing change is very important. Throughout my years of research and study on my personal life and also with my clients, what I find time and time again is that, well, number one, we all know change is inevitable, right? If we're alive, we're changing. This is in front of us in nature, everywhere we look. I mean, you lay out a plate of food and it's going to change over time if you just leave it there. Life is change. What happens in our human experience, though, is that when we are not cultivating our change, when we are not embracing our change, then we are in a constant state of suffering. We're in a constant state of just this antagonistic experience because guess what, honey? Change is coming. But when you are embracing change, when we are embracing change and we're saying, okay, embracing is one thing, that means a change is coming and we're open to it. We're saying, okay, what's here for me? When we are cultivating our change, now imagine yourself as a surfer that is on the board, on the wave, and you're riding it, baby. And the wind is in your hair, and you're in this state of excitement and empowerment and confidence. Why? Because you are driving that change. You are saying, hey, there's something new for me. And so many gifts come from that. So I'm a big proponent of that because I kept seeing, not only in my own life, but in various family members and also my clients, that I was like, well, when we're not going with the change, we're suffering. And it's pointless because the change is going to happen anyway. So now we've forfeited the chance of happiness in the interim. And then there's this state of, we go through a state of shock. We go through a state of angst or not acceptance, and it prolongs that. So even once the change has occurred, it's just not good. When we embrace change, now this is sooner and faster because maybe we're curious or happy or looking, but we're not against it, right? So now the interim is nicer. Now maybe what that change is bringing, we reveal it, we receive it sooner. And then there's the fast track. Then there's the, hey, what can I change? I have a vision of who I want to be. I have an experience I'd like to have. I like this that I see. How can I be more this change? And then life gets super fun. I mean, it's awesome.
Yeah. So in working with your clients,
Hmm.
especially people that are, you know, they we just we get comfortable, right? And you kind of stagnate in one place. And change is really hard. You know, I think by nature, it's hard for more people than others. How do you begin to coach people through that, to begin to open their hearts, to begin to embrace change? Can you help us, just give us some tips on how we can begin to cultivate that and work towards that?
Sure. Well, okay, when a change is on the horizon, it may seem hard, and sometimes depending on what the change is, it might be hard. Maybe the next steps are going to be hard to take. But no matter what, usually there is something, even when you're in a state of not full acceptance, there's something appealing. There's something appealing for each one of us. I'll give an example. So years ago, I wanted to be more fit. Okay. I had let myself get sedentary. I was really, really going through a deep spiritual study, which was a lot of thinking and heart space, along with the work I was doing. And so I wanted to be more fit. Now, even though it took me a while to really ramp up to being that person actively every day, there was still something, a nugget of a vision, a feeling, a hope, a plan that can help us if we remember that. It can help us when, oh man, I it's feeling hard. All of us usually have that when a change is on the horizon, unless a change lands unexpectedly. Then of course, then you're in that state of shock. And when that happens, if a change has landed unexpectedly and you're feeling overwhelmed or scared, then we must go to what's higher. We must go to God. We must go to faith. We must go outside of ourselves, because in that moment, we're lost. We're tumbling in the wave, and we have our eyes closed, and it's scary. But the way we can remember God and faith and what's beyond us is by looking backward. Because if we look backward, the track record is 100. And your past times that you've been led, that you've been helped, that you've been blessed will inform that this new unexpected scary thing will also pass. So hopefully those two methodologies, those two offerings can assist anyone wherever they're at. If it's in an unexpected moment, remember the past wins, remember the past blessings, remember you're not alone. And if you're in more of a different kind of, I'm thinking of a change, but I'm still feeling like it's hard, then remember your future. Remember the piece of you that is welcoming you to the new day and saying, honey, I see the other side of you. Come on, let's go. And you can do it. You can do it step by step. And if you need more help, that's when I'm here. There's people that will help you. But those two things can help us ourselves navigate those waters.
That's so good, Teemaree. And I think as a person of faith, God doesn't promise us, a cakewalk with no hardships, no difficulties. I mean, that's for us to believe that, the human experience is filled with change, filled with highs, filled with lows, right? So to be living, to be walking, to be fully open armed and like, okay, bring it, God. And to me, the Lord is my shepherd. As long as I've got him, I can face anything.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it just kind of frees you up to move forward.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's tough because, when you're dealing with God, the creator of all, right? I mean, the entire universe was our planet, our at least the Milky Way. We can't speak on beyond, but at least the Milky Way, our planet, and everything was created in 7 days, right? We're talking about just, and it's done. And yet when we're having our experience, we the difference is we don't have that knowing, right? That there goes an earth, there goes the seas, we don't have that. We feel, we get shaken on little things,
Right.
depending on the day and our mood. Are you hungry? Shoot, that'll inform a lot. Are
Hungry
you
here. Guilty.
tired? So it's like the funny thing about it all is that in truth, our challenges, our obstacles, our hardships, and I know this is an advanced teaching, but it's true. It's like they actually they are gifts, because unfortunately, in theory, we don't really get the teaching, but in experience, that's when we get it. And so there are certain things in us that, and I'll liken it to this again with a fitness example, because it's very easy for all of us to understand. We've all at least had PE or something that we've had to do where it took us out of our physical comfort zone. And so what happens, right? It's this kind of hardship that we can't do, or it's tough. But then when we do it and when we experientially experience that, now all of a sudden we have capabilities we didn't have before. And our obstacles and our challenges, emotional, spiritual, physical, all of that, they are gifts, so that usually we can take whatever we got there to face a new harvest, a new season, a new position that we wanted. Because that's another thing God is awesome on. God will take our greatest plan and dream, like for us, right? Like we would be totally satisfied with that. We really like, yeah, that would be great. And God's like, oh, that's so cute of you. Here, let me take what you're bringing me, and I'm also going to include this, and this. And it's not only going to be everything you hope for, but it's going to be added extra benefits that you didn't know you wanted and you didn't really hope for, but now that you're in it, you're like, thank God I have this. So our challenges allow us to become the person that can walk that new walk. It's hard and it's scary, but there's gifts there. And so um, hopefully when we allow ourselves to remember that, that can take a little bit of the edge off, that we experience at the time when we're going through it.
Right. Right. And I think change often starts with baby steps. I love talking about baby steps because that's always how things start. It starts small. And if you're at a place where you're not happy or you're not content, it's being intentional, kind of looking yourself in the mirror first and foremost and saying, okay, Lord, or with a prayer, Lord, help me, help cultivate my heart to be more open to change. And I think a lot of times when you kind of create that intention, things begin to change. Right. And
Absolutely.
it's slow. I mean, you're not going to get there in a day, especially if you've been a person resistant of change your whole life. If you grew up in a home where, nobody took change, it was just safe and same all the time.
Yeah.
It takes a while to learn to cultivate that spirit of being bold and brave, because that's part of it too.
Oh, yes, it definitely is. It definitely is. And so, yeah, if that's the case, then yes. Oh, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, gosh, even if you're with support all around you, a prayer right away always is the best, is the best.
Best way to
Always
start.
a best way to start, But yeah, I know that the times in my life where I've been pioneering something, it's lonely. It's lonely. And it's hard. And it takes fortitude. It takes a determination. to keep on going one step at a time, whatever it is you know how to do. I think that's why I'm so passionate about what I consider to be my calling, is because I spent a lot of time just doing things on my own and feeling and experiencing that I didn't have the resources and necessarily the people to help me out. So, you know, I know what that's like. It's hard and it's lonely and it's tough, but like you said, baby steps. And then hopefully, there is an awakening. At least for me, I was so happy once I did awaken to, gosh, there is help out there. Not only that there is help, but that like I can and should receive help. I'm worthy of receiving help because there's a whole ball of wax with that.
Right.
But yes, baby steps, baby steps, baby steps. And if anyone listening is experiencing right now that sensation of wanting to go through changes and it is hard and it is lonely, you're not crazy. You're not doing anything wrong. Um, it's a part of the process. You don't have to be alone, but if that's just what's happening in your current immediate circle, it's okay. Um, stick with the course, stick with the plan
But I
because
think,
yeah,
yeah, I think so many times people get off track with their life or their relationships or whatever, and then they feel stuck,
yeah,
and you don't have to be stuck. Right. And I think that's a decision, it's healing and freeing when you say, I'm gonna take a step forward and figure this out. Right.
yeah, yeah,
Because it's a terrible feeling to feel like you're stuck. And I think most of the time we can find a way out or a way through. I guess
mhm,
it's more a way through, right?
yeah, yeah. Uh, the way out is temporary. The way through is forever because both exist.
Yeah.
You're right on that. You hit it on the head because they both exist. So the way out usually means you're going to revisit that, but the way through, now it's behind you, and that's a really good thing. So yeah, both ways exist, and it does take one step at a time. It sucks to feel stuck. We all have this feeling. Generally, with my clients and in my own life, when I have felt stuck, it is because I'm resisting the change. I'm resisting the new. It's kind of like, when we're in our 20s and we ask everybody for advice, but
Oh,
we don't really want the advice because we already have our plan.
yeah.
So we're really kind of surveying who's going to like say what we already know we're going to do so we can feel better about it.
Yeah.
But we'll sit and we'll be like confused. Confusion is when you know what to do, but you don't want to do it. None of us are confused. When we feel confused, it's because, so like for instance, if I'm like, I don't really know if I should have like another bowl of ice cream. I mean, it's there, but honey, I know I should not have another bowl of ice cream. Like for me, I already know. Like that is a sliding slope into a rocky road fantasy that could last for a really long time. But
Yeah.
we'll sit in these little like confusion points, right? Like, I don't really know what workout to do next because, well, like I, you're gonna do workout next, but you're kind of sitting in this like I don't know mode because maybe the next one's gonna be tough, or you don't want to wake up extra early because you're going to have to do that. So,
Mhm.
these are the things we go through, and these are the little games we play that, depending on where we're at in our journey, um, when we're feeling strong and confident, when we have the right support, then it can be funny and we can laugh at it and we can massage it out and we can move on. But, it can also be a tough place, because when we're really believing that illusion, and it does feel stuck, and we really can't see the light. And that's also why it's important for us to get whatever support we can. If it's a book, if it's a podcast, if it's a coach, if it's a program, it's important, because when we have that support, then we are able to walk through these very real but sometimes paralyzing experiences much faster and much smoother. Because something as simple as that, right? I'll, I'll just tell you that, remember I told you when I wanted to be fit, like years ago when I wanted to be more fit? So here I was after a gig I had done. At the time, I had DJ'd a set at this casino, so I was up very late, and I watched this infomercial for an exercise program that I bought immediately, because the inside of me was I knew that that was for me. I bought it immediately, but can I just tell you, it took me like a year and a half to actually put the disc into and start doing what I was meant to do. So
Yeah.
these are the things, and we all go through it. But so if I would have had support, I probably would have not spent a year and a half in my confusion marination mode, right? So these are the different things we go through. Some of us feel like, oh gosh, I'm thinking, I'm confused, I'm stuck, and we'll stay there, unfortunately, because maybe our whole family or our friends, like whoever we're around, they're not supportive. They don't see us in that way either. So we can't break free. And then sometimes we're strong enough and we're trudging along. Maybe we have more of a warrior spirit, or we have that one friend that sometimes supports us. But, then we'll still take a year, 2 years to make these changes. And then hopefully we awaken to, there is help, there is help. I can pray, I can listen to the Relevate podcast, I can buy a book, I can get, a coach. And then now we have someone that's got our back, and we're able to do things much faster. And I'm passionate about this because not only of what I've experienced, but what I've seen. I've seen people at all different levels. I've been that person, and I've seen people at all different levels. And I'm sorry to say that there's people I love that are still at levels that, hey, if you're happy with your life, rock on. That's all we all want.
Sure.
But if you're not happy, and if you're complaining, if things are going bad and you're still just stuck, that's when it's sad. And so, like any person that I can help, I'm like, come on, let's go, because life is beautiful, and it's meant for us to live and to fully seize our gifts, our community, our relationships. So, what better thing is there to do?
I know. And just, stepping forth in faith. So fear keeps you in bondage, right? Fear, and you can play out that fear scenario in your head. I don't want to let my kids down. I don't want to, you can talk yourself out of things really quickly, right? So how do you coach people to put that fear in check?
It's so funny that you just said that. I actually have a digital course for someone who doesn't want to do personal coaching. I have a digital course that I'm about to launch called Move from Fear to Faith in 14 Days. Honey,
Hey.
it's on. Okay. So listen, fear is real, fear is natural, fear keeps us safe. Okay. But fear unchecked will keep us from our destiny. It will keep us from expressing our gifts. It will keep us from authentically living. It will keep us from loving to the fullest. It will keep us from everything that makes life worth living. So fear, we need to, like an unruly child, we need to love it. We need to understand it. And we also need to correct it when it's out of place. So we can do this a number of ways, My course in 14 days will take you through from the comfort of your own home. You'll be treated like a VIP, and something will come, an exercise. And by the way, everything that I do, transformation made easy through joy, because let me tell you, as
I
adults,
love that. I love that.
Rena, it's like as adults, everything, how come we don't get fun stuff? Hello, right? As adults, everything's like, here's the volume
Serious
2500, right?
and
And
boring.
and boring. And we already have so much to do. We already have so much on our plate. So I like things that are fast, easy, but powerful. And when I say easy, meaning not complicated. So simple is more of a better word.
Yeah.
And so anyway, if you're someone that is experiencing fear right now, which is understandable, a lot has changed in our world, in our lives, a lot at once. Things are still not fully to what they were. Will they ever be? We don't know. So we're in a new frontier right now. And for anyone that's experiencing fear, just understanding kind of what I said before helps to kind of maybe give some perspective. Okay, so it's not this kind of hidden monster in the corner. Uh, Please don't ever feel that the people that you look up to or respect, that they don't have fear. Everybody has fear.
Sure.
Everybody, even the dynamos, the extreme sport athletes, whoever it is that you look to that you think they're never scared. They're scared. We all are.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of being able to correct the fear. And one of the things that I'd love to leave here, I'll give a few things that you can use right now. So number one is, just like I said before, you can always look back and see the things that, if you allow yourself to remember, things that you've been afraid of that you've conquered already. So this could hopefully help you to remember that you have it in you. Okay. Always, always, please use your spiritual practice. Please pray. Please, go to God. Go to God. Go to God. And listen, God loves you. God knows everything you've got going on. All the stuff you think you're hiding, honey, already knows it, already saw it, loves you anyway. So guess what?
Yeah.
Come to God with an open heart, an open mind, and just allow yourself to be vulnerable. And it could be anything. It could be, please help me. I don't know. I welcome you in. Anything. It could be any of the above and anything you could think of. God's got your back. And if you want some little technical, kind of quick, practical things, again, remember your wins. You've got it in you. And another thing is, take the first thing you can do and do it right away.
Right.
Because the fear voices, when they're not exercised, when they're not corrected, are going to immediately, they're going to immediately start. So what do? You take a step in the direction immediately, so that now you're pulling yourself forward. Because guess what? Our minds only regurgitate past data. Our hearts take us to where we can go, but have never been before.
Good.
So whenever, honey, whenever you're
Say
doing
that.
something
Okay.
new.
Preach it again, please.
Okay. Okay. So you must remember, let us all remember always, especially when we are fearful, that our minds will only regurgitate past data, but our hearts, they lead us to where we have never been, but where they know that we can go. Please remember this, because anytime you do something new, data is going to come up.
Yeah.
Your mind is going to come up. How, why, what, can you, will you, who will? But your heart, that impetus that led you in the first place, knows the whole thing, knows that you can jump off cliffs, knows that you can start a business, knows that you can survive with less and still live abundantly, knows that you can have a thriving marriage, knows that you can reshape your body even though you haven't been athletic since junior high. Knows, whatever it is. So hopefully that helps. Those practical things can help.
So good. And I've heard it said that God knows our propensity for fear. And in the Bible, it's over 365 times it's mentioned fear not, fear not, fear not, one for every day. And he knows how we are. So for us to kind of be like, oh, that's, you know, I, it, that's how I am, I need to listen to my heart more instead of my head.
Yes. Yes,
That's
indeed.
that's such amazing, amazing advice. So you've written a number of books, and on your website it said books to spark personal development and reclaim power.
Yes.
Spark personal development and reclaim power. Yes, please, Teemaree. Just help us understand. Talk us through some of the books you've written.
Okay. Yeah. So my first book was an ebook, and it's called 10 Ways to Move from Fear to Faith. And so that is a short but powerful read that gives us some insight into fear and how we can kind of put it in its place. And it also comes with affirmation cards that you can print out so you can quickly have a cool glance practice, right?
Mhm.
And so this is going to help to basically allow you to, again, spark that fearlessness in you, spark that ability to kind of start the conversation around putting fear in its place and, be able to develop that muscle. Again, it's a short read, it's very powerful, and it has those affirmation cards that you could print out because what we focus on grows, right? So
Uh,
then it also, yeah,
mhm.
provides you with that practice. And then published, I authored and published Love for You Now, Focus on Love and Change Your Life.
Mm.
And Love for You Now, it's not a dating book. It's not how to appear more sexy. It's none of that stuff, okay? Because again, I'm like, hello, what about love for ourselves? What about love in the universe? What about God's love that it's raining down on us all the time?
Mm.
So, Love for You Now, Focus on Love and Change Your Life is basically illustrating how the world itself can be a love letter if you have the eyes to see and the ears to hear.
Mm.
But it takes cultivation, doesn't it?
Sure.
Because we're not told that. If you click on any channel, what sells is stuff that makes us feel not loved. As a matter of fact, every ad campaign usually will tell us that something's wrong and we need to fix XYZ. Lord knows, us women, that's always the button we're getting pushed, right? So,
Totally.
yeah, so Love for You Now, it takes you through, you can use it 4 ways. Because again, as adults, we deserve fun and play. As adults, it doesn't have to be hard, even though it's maybe considered a large concept. And so you can use it as a flip book, you can use it as a game, you can use it as a kind of daily devotional. You can read through it, and it has full color illustrations and affirmative statements for you to experience
Mhm.
cultivating a sense of love for yourself, that there's love always around you. And what's been exciting is that, you know, the feedback that I've received. So I've had a couple of folks reach out to me, and what was really compelling about what they had to share is that they were very kind of medical, practical based minds.
Mhm.
And so, for them, it's very, but these are the facts. This is, which is great. It's fine. We love and need those minds. Thank you for everybody who does approach life that way. However, it was really cool because, how are they going to receive this information? I mean, they did get it. So obviously there was an opening, but to receive the feedback of like, oh, I'm noticing love now in different, oh, I'm experiencing happiness that I didn't have before. That was just so rewarding because that was the point. You can experience immediate happiness and positivity, but then also kind of train that muscle to open up to you are loved intrinsically, automatically, and you can notice it all around you if you open up to it.
Mm.
So, then I created the Love for You
Okay,
Now coloring book.
before we move on
Tell
from that,
me,
can
tell me.
you can you just toss us an example of something we can do to kind of cultivate that love of self.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, I mean, a big thing, I guess the first thing, depending on where a person is at, let's say if there's kind of like nothing going on right now and it's really tough to open up to loving yourself, I think see if you can sit down and even write a few things you're grateful for, a few things you appreciate or like about yourself. And I remember years and years and years and years and years and years and years back, after experiencing an abusive relationship, I came out decimated from that experience. So I was really actually pretty damaged. I mean, I'm talking like I would just constantly look at the floor all the time, just to give you a little indication of the body language, or I couldn't accept compliments anymore. I would constantly second guess things that used to feel very natural to me. Everything like even like how to address myself, or like if I wanted to say something or wanted to express myself, I would second guess myself like, oh, is that going to be dumb? Or is that going to be, because that's unfortunately what abusive relationships do. They break us down. And so I remember when I was fighting my way out of that, it was really interesting that I couldn't answer at first simple questions of like, what do you like about yourself? Or what gift you have? Or what do you think you do well? And if we can start there, then what happened for me is I noticed I had a problem in that area. And then I was able to start at least opening the door to getting to see the fullness of myself again. And especially for those of us that have been raised in families that do not praise, okay, then I know another piece of baggage I had was that talking about yourself is conceited, or if you don't, are you tooting your own horn? Well, look at you, and that's damaging, because we all know the difference between cockiness and being passionate about sharing what we have, right? Or being able to accept and receive and say, oh yeah, I worked hard on that. I'm glad that I achieved or I received or whatever, versus when it's too much, right?
Mhm.
So if you find yourself in that experience at the moment, start to open up that dialogue by just in the privacy, wherever you need. For some of us moms, or wives even, sometimes, how does the bathroom become a sanctuary? I don't know, but it is. Shower time, whatever, in your car, start to think of little things. I appreciate this about myself. I do this well. I do have that gift.
Mhm.
And then the second thing that I would love to recommend is just accept compliments. If this is a game changer. So if somebody says, "Oh, girl, you look so good today. Oh, you look beautiful. Oh, you did that. Oh, what a great job on that project. Oh, thank you for this." Don't you dare explain anything. Don't you dare.
Say,
Don't you say anything. This is your task. You say, "Thank you." And even if your knee's shaking and you just want to say, "Oh, but that wasn't much. Oh, but it was," or talk about how hard it was to do it. Thank you.
yes. Why do we do that? What
I
is that?
don't know. I think it comes from that. I think some of us would want to cultivate a humble heart, maybe. I've seen that. I think some of us haven't been supported in being able to receive, so then it feels foreign.
Mhm.
I've definitely been, as I explained, in a place of brokenness where sometimes you just can't. You can't even receive it. You got to get out of that first. You got to, see yourself as worthy again. So for all those reasons, but we got to stop. We got to stop doing that, and we got to be able to just receive it. Just receive it.
Well, and we have to take care of ourselves first. It's the
Mhm.
whole oxygen mask concept, right? If you're not healthy, mind, body, spirit, you need we all need to work on that first.
Yeah.
And there's that, that phrase, you deserve it. I mean, I usually roll my eyes when somebody says you deserve it. No, you, to take care of yourself, to seek inner healing and wisdom, do that. Don't do that for yourself. Do that for your family. You get emotionally healthy, and everybody's going to benefit from it. And be willing to do the work. Be willing to take the first step. You are worth it.
Yes. Yes.
Well, and I
Yes.
appreciate you sharing more about some of the hardship in your background, because I think as humans, we're guilty of looking at someone and just, you know, instantly we create this story in our head that, oh, they have this perfect life. And we need to stop doing that too, because everybody's path is different. And what we're seeing on social media, or, you know, we're seeing the highlight reel. Life is messy and it's complex for everybody, right? But you have your life. Make it beautiful. Make it all that it can be. If you're stuck, get unstuck. If you get a coach, you can do it. You can do it. And there's amazing people like Teemaree that are there to walk you through it and you know, help you take that first baby step. Life is too short. It's short and it's precious. Let's go, people. Let's get on with living amazing lives. Right?
Yes. Yes,
With joy.
absolutely.
With joy.
Yes, absolutely. Yes,
So
absolutely.
we had an earlier conversation and you mentioned that you're a little bit of a lone wolf.
hmm
I find that
hmm
hard to believe because you're all in. What did you mean by that?
Well, gosh, being a lone wolf is definitely something that I have had ever since I was a little kid, and it started from my childhood. So I will preface it to say that, like we discussed earlier, um, God has gifts and methods in which we refine those gifts that are hard and challenging, especially when we don't know what's coming, but it is real. So in my case, my childhood was very, very extraordinary, and not in the fun to brag about way. Um, my my experience with both of my parents in my home was very tumultuous. There was lots of fights. There was physical abuse happening there between my dad and my mom. And finally, when she had had enough of uh, all of that, she divorced my father. Which, even though I'm the oldest of the kids in my family, and ever since I was a young kid, I would get teased. My my mom would say, "Oh, radar ears," because I'd be picking up on everything. I would listen and just dissect everything. And so I was always aware of kind of what was going on with the grown-ups and with the house and what was happening. So even when my mom divorced my dad, I understood why she did it. But of course, that's still my dad. And we're all traumatized that this is happening because we're going to miss my dad. After a year of living with my mother, she packs up our entire apartment. We have had no discussions at this point of anything. So we just see that things are getting packed up. So we're doing this. And then we go to my dad's house with my mom. And this is weird and curious and exciting. Are they getting back together? What's happening? Because mind you, we all have luggage. All of us have come now to my dad's house with luggage. And we spend a day, and there is a dinner. And then my mom gets up and gets her bag, and we all walk her down the stairs to the sidewalk where she leaves. And I remember howling. I remember crying, just seeing her become smaller and smaller and smaller as she leaves. There's been no conversation. What is happening? And for years, I
Oh,
didn't see her
goodbye.
after that.
I'll see you. I'll be back. I think she just left.
So she left me and my two brothers at the time. I do have another brother that, how can I leave my other brother out? But she left me and my two brothers at the time with my father. And that immediately launches me into being the woman of the house. I'm 9 at this time. At 9 years old, I'm walking myself to and from school. I'm filling out my own emergency cards. I'm taking care of my brothers. I'm cleaning the house. I'm making food. I'm I'm
You're the
I'm
wife.
a lone wolf. Okay. And this is something that I both do somehow automatically, and also it's expected. Because again, I've always been more mature. Adults would kind of tell me what's happening. I know what's going on. So fast forward, okay, where this has been my life, right? And then I become a mom for real at 15. And I have my first child, my daughter. And so my life has been a series of I'm walking a path alone. When I had my daughter, this was my first everything. And ladies, we usually think that's going to last forever. I did. I thought we were going to be forever until we died. Um, but that was not the case. He was the biological father to my two children, my two surviving children. And that was very short lived. And now I'm a single mom and I'm working multiple jobs.
And you're how old at this point?
I am, I had, I got pregnant at 15, had my daughter at 16, had my son at 17. They're a year and a half apart. So, so,
And on
you
about.
know, I have two kids, I have multiple jobs, and I'm essentially regularly trying to make a dollar out of 15 cents. I have no family to help me because the family that I just left, I was the one holding it down. Mind you, my father did the best that he could. He did support and provide for us, right? We had a roof, we had food, but you understand. So not only am I a lone wolf in my own trajectory and the impetus to I will not only survive this, but I will thrive through this. I will leave what I came from. I will be greater. But I'm also the lone wolf in that I'm a really, really weird 9-year-old launching myself as fast as my stickly legs could get me when the gate opens, when school's out, because I got to rush home to do stuff. I'm a really, really weird 15 and 16 and 17 and 18 and 19 and so on year old because I have two kids and three jobs. I don't have time to play and date and hang out. And then that actually continues happening because even now, you talked about being an empty nester. I was an empty nester. My husband and I have been empty nesters for years. And we have friends that are starting their families. And we're like, woo, we're good.
Buy an RV and go live in
live
the
in the
mountains.
desert. So, it goes on and on and on and on, right? These
So, okay,
hardships, though.
I'm sorry to interrupt you here.
Mm-hmm,
So when you were that 17-year-old girl with
mm-hmm.
two babies and no daddy around, were you feeling strong and confident and sure of yourself at that time? Or where was kind of your head during all of that?
Both experiences were happening. There was a side of me that felt very strong, capable, and relentless.
Mm-hmm.
Relentless. I will make a life for us. and I will make it the best of my ability no matter what. I will work 3 jobs around the clock. I will do whatever it takes, right? And still find a way to go to school and take at least a year of college and do these things. And then there were parts of me that were so scared and so overwhelmed and so tired and so lost and so needing. And so those aspects of me sought out unhealthy ways in the beginning. Because again, I understand what it's like to not have around you that ray of light, right? That person that's going to say, come on, that champion, that mentor, that coach, that something. So, but yeah, both existed, right? I think inside of me, ever since, God placed inside of me something that said a warrior, but also I was scared. It's hard to describe because both did live. I mean, you know, I just felt like there's no one else. I have to. And for the longest time, that's what ran my life. There's no one else. I have to. I have to be the one. I have to do it. If I want better, I have to do it because it's not going to get done. But then there was also this side of me that just wanted desperately to be loved and appreciated and seen and respected, and that wanted to be somewhere and someone else. Like, just, I did not identify with where I was at that time. So both were certainly existing. And, yeah.
I love the word that you used, relentless. You were relentless. Who is relentless at 17 years old? No, I wasn't. No 17-year old I knew, but I think that was God just walking you through that period of your life and making you believe you could do it. And because you believed it, you did it. And look at you now.
God has definitely been, Rena, God has definitely been everything. And, I remember I used to have this like fantasy, like this hope that someday I'll get to like hug God. Like I'll get to just hug God. And, it's been happening. It's been happening. It is available to us while we are in the body. So I can only imagine when we leave this little shell behind, but it's been happening. And so that's why.
How so? How so?
Well, so what could have possibly given me the wherewithal, the practicality, the strength, the energy, the focus at 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 until I get pregnant? What would have given me? What would have given me? I can't even tell you how many countless times I was in dire straits, man. I was in dire straits. I remember when, and there's before examples and there's recent examples where I didn't see a way. I didn't see a way. I didn't know what was going to happen. And God came through. God came through. God came through time and time and time and time and time again. I mean, everything from, okay, I'm on my own with the kids. I have this job. I don't have a babysitter. And it just so happens I ran into a woman at my apartment complex that watches kids that same afternoon, just in time, to fast forward to many years later, and this is why early on in our conversation, I said, listen, I worked on this. I cultivated this. And it's important for me to say that and to make it very clear to any person that wants something greater for themselves. You cultivate it. God is with you, but you must act, you must move, and it is a constant thing. When I first started authoring my books, there was so much fear because I was coming off of a full-on entertainment career that I thought that was my highest dream. And awoke to a very clear message that there was something else. A very clear message that there was something else. And I start authoring these books, and I'm giving and I'm giving and I'm giving and I'm giving and I'm coaching and I'm mentoring and I'm doing all this stuff. And there's many things that came into my path at that time that without God's help, I could not have gotten past that point. You know, time and time and time again, God's embrace has been available and has been active in my life by way of answers, by way of human people showing up as angels, as answered prayers, by way of ideas, by way of unexpected support, monetary, very physical support. That's another thing I want to outline, because I think we miss the mark sometimes. We believe that it's this ethereal experience, and it is, but it's also very physical things. It is loaves and fish. It is a boat. It is an outstretched hand that will take you on the water. It is all of those things. So time and time again, I have felt God's embrace through those hardships in my childhood, and then onward as I was going through what I now can see in retrospect was my training ground, was my school, was the refinement of my character, was the building of the muscles I would need to be able to do what I'm meant to do, and what I'm happy to do, and what I love to do, which I didn't choose for myself, but I did. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm reading this great book by Pastor Mark Batterson called Whisper. And it's that very thing that God speaks to us in whispers, or people, I think, we're all looking for the big blinking sign, or the voice from heaven. That's not the way God works. He's very gentle, and he uses so many things. So I think, we just need to have our eyes open and be aware of that. And I'm so glad that your story you were very vulnerable, and your story could have turned out very different.
And that's
so many
way.
times it's people like that, you, to numb the pain, you turn to drugs. I mean, I hear that story again and again. So I'm so glad there was a protective covering around you that spared you, because you were doing such great work in really helping people to rise up and be better. And I'm so thankful for that.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And that it didn't make you bitter. I mean, a lot of times we get bitter because of the hand we were dealt in life. I mean, and as kids, we don't get to choose, right? And some of us just can never get over the hurt. So I'm thankful that you allowed your heart to heal and to forgive, or whatever those steps were. I'm sure that's something you're probably still processing. But God, somehow, some way, he's going to use it for good if you let him.
Always.
Well, I could chat with you all day long. So one more question for you.
Okay.
And I want you to close this out. The word relevate means to uplift or restore to good spirits. So close us out with a word of inspiration for people who may be stuck, who may be struggling, who just need a good word. Teemaree, please go.
So let us just take a wonderful cleansing deep breath in and deep breath out. And let us open up to this wonderful moment that we've had together, because nothing is by accident. You have been here with us today because there's something here for you. Your heart knows, and even your mind is willing. You have everything that you need available to you, either right inside of you or just a click, a tiny reach away. Listen, you're not alone. You're not wrong. You're not broken. You're not any of the falsities that you may be feeling in this moment. There is something much greater for you. And that little tiny spark of you that knows this, I'm speaking to that right now, that piece of you. I'm welcoming you to the party, the joy, the love, the abundance, the acceptance, the authenticity, the freedom that is available for you right now. And so I just want you to know that you are loved, you are accepted, you are redeemed, you are every wonderful thing that you've ever imagined yourself to be. And you have the right, not only the right, but we need you to express it. So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. You are welcome here. And we're so thankful that you joined us. So whatever you need, we're here. Both of us, right, Rena?
Yeah. Well, how can
And
people get in touch with you, Teemaree, to learn more?
oh, you can find me anytime at my website, and that is teemaree.com, teemaree.com. Uh, I'm available there all the time. Of course, there's social media too, which you can get through on my website, but I find that that's the greatest place for you to reach out to me, receive things to help right away, write me a message, find my social, the whole thing. It's teemaree.com, teemaree.com.
Thank you so much for sharing your heart and your wisdom and just your, being vulnerable and helping us just inspire to be greater and better.
Thank you for having me. I really, really enjoyed speaking with you today.
It was a blessing. Talk soon.
Okay, bye.